So I got this question that says, I'm using QuickBooks Enterprise and I want to import my inventory assemblies, components, and bill of materials into QuickBooks from an Excel spreadsheet. Is that possible? It's a great question. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. So hang on with me. I'm going to go ahead and show you how you could do that to the extent that you can do it. One thing is this works in QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise and QuickBooks Desktop Premier. It works in both editions. If you're working with QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Pro, QuickBooks Desktop Pro, this is not going to work because it doesn't recognize or support assemblies. First, let's set up a basic assembly so we can understand, all be on the same page, exactly what this person is trying to do. I'm going to go to the list menu and click on item list. And then I'm going to create an inventory assembly. I'm going to open a spreadsheet that I have. This is from a customer that builds RC cars, and they build it all in the office, and they have all these bill of materials, all these components, for lack of a better term: chassis, cover, wheels, motors, paint, and controller. And they put together the remote control cars for their customers into one assembled product. This spreadsheet is not typical. It's also not atypical. As I go and work with many manufacturers or businesses that assemble inventory, every spreadsheet looks different. The way people organize their bill of materials, their components, their assembled product is going to be unique. However, you might need to reformat this spreadsheet to make it compatible to how QuickBooks can possibly import these items. So let's start with this item here called the red RC car. We're going to go ahead and enter it manually so we understand sort of the moving parts that it comes to that. First thing we want to do is we want to create all the components inside the bill of material. All of these need to be items. That could be inventory, that could be non-inventory, depending really on how you manage that situation. So I'm going to go into QuickBooks. I'm going to go into right click in my item list, click on new, and then let's say, just for the examples purposes, let's say that all of these items are inventoried with the exception of the paint. Let's say we don't inventory the paint, so we'll create the paint as a non-inventory part. So this one's called paint red, and this costs $1.75. So I'm going to go into QuickBooks, create this as a non-inventory part, and we're going to call this paint red. Okay. In the description, I'm going to click on this checkbox that says this item is being used in assemblies. And in the description, I can just put a quart of paint for cars and call this red. Okay. Sales description, we can make it the same. We probably don't sell these components. The cost of this is $1.75, and I'm not going to put a sales price because let's assume that we don't sell the components by themselves. The expense account, typically I put it into a cost of goods sold account. That's where most components are entered into. So this is my non-inventory red paint that we're going to go ahead and enter. I'm going to click OK. Oh, I have to select an income account. I'm just going to pick an income account here called sales. Okay, just put it into sales and then click on OK. So there's my first non-inventory part from my spreadsheet in here. Let's say all these are going to be inventory parts. So I can create one by one simply by going right click, new, creating an inventory part. And this one's going to be called standard chassis. So we'll type here standard chassis, and the cost of this is $16.50. Income account, we'll send it to any sales account, and then here we'll just type again standard chassis, whatever description we want to put. That's how we enter each inventory part. Now the question says, can you import it from Excel? Can I bring them in batch? The answer is yes. So we're going to click on the list menu and then click on add edit multiple list entries. Through this tool, I'll be able to copy and paste and import the components. So first I have to import the components by themselves, and then I'm going to import the assembly parts, the grouped product. So I'm going to go into inventory part, and I'm going to go back into my spreadsheet and see the components or the columns that I have. So I have name and cost is really all the information that I have. So I want to create a new sheet here in Excel, and I'm just going to call this component name and then cost. So I'm creating a spreadsheet that's more compatible with what QuickBooks allows me to import. Let me put here the M for component. And then I'm going to come in here, and then I'm going to copy and paste all these things, copy and paste them into my new clean spreadsheet. I'm going to get rid of the quantities, which I don't need for the purposes of importing the components. And I'm going to delete this yellow one because this is a non-inventory part. Okay. Let me zoom in the Excel. It's a little bit easier to read. Do here 150%. Okay. Let me take advantage and also import all the components from all the other products. Notice I got a red RC car, I got a green truck, and I have a yellow convertible. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and copy the bill of materials from each of the components and put them into a sort of flat spreadsheet. I'm going to delete the paint because we decided that paint is going to be a non-inventory part. So we got rid of paint because paint is a non-inventory part. We're going to copy the component costs, bring them into this other sheet. Perfect. And then we're going to go into the bill of materials here as well. For my third product, copy and paste those items in here. Actually, let me start over because I might have screwed up. So let me just hit clear here for a minute. So let me copy the bill of materials and paste them in here, just the bill of materials. Then I'm going to take the component cost, copy it, and put it into there. Okay, that matches. Then I'm going to take my bill of materials from my other assembly item, paste that in there, bring in the costs. Perfect. Remember, right now I'm just importing my components, my products, my inventory parts. And let's assume they're not in QuickBooks. If they were in QuickBooks, you can skip this, right? So we're going to enter that and bring in the cost. Perfect. Okay. So now that I have a flat file that I can import into, let me delete all the paints, which we decided they were going to be a non-inventory part. So I'm going to delete the paints, and there we go. Those are all my inventory parts. What I'm also going to do is use Excel to remove duplicates. That way I'm not importing duplicates again. Click on remove duplicates and click on component name as a duplicate, hit OK. And that reduces my list of inventory parts or components. So now I can take this, copy and paste it into QuickBooks. So in QuickBooks, in my inventory part list, I'm going to configure this screen to look exactly like my spreadsheet. So essentially, really all I need is my item name and my cost right next to it. So item name and cost next to it, so I can copy and paste them into here. Okay, so I'm going to take my spreadsheet, copy and paste the components, bring them into QuickBooks, and paste them. Okay, it doesn't allow me to bring in with dollar signs. So I'm going to go ahead and click on close for a minute just to kind of reset. And I'm going to go back into list or view list, add edit multiple list entries, and go back to my inventory parts. And to avoid seeing the ones that are already there, I'm just going to click here where it says inactive inventory item. Actually, not inactive, unsaved. So it's just a blank screen. Then I'm going to go back into my Excel. I'm going to remove the dollar formatting because QuickBooks didn't like that. Put that into just numerical. Now I'm going to take and copy and paste these inventory parts into my inventory list. Perfect. Now I'm not going to import a sales price. I have to give it a cost of goods sold account. I also have to give it an income account, and I have to give it an inventory asset account. It will default regular cost of goods sold and inventory asset. So I'll just pick any random income account, and I'm going to right click on that and click on copy down. And that's now going to have everything that I need, including item name and cost. So I'm going to click on save and close. And of course, before you do it, you want to go through all the fields and see which ones you want to be importing. Then I'm going to click on save. Then I'm going to hit close. And then I'm going to go into my item list. I notice that I have some of my components in here, which is perfect. Now I'm going to import my non-inventory parts. Let me click on Add Edit Multiple List Entries. I'm going to click here, Non-Inventory Parts. And I'm going to bring in my paints. So we have my blue and yellow paint. I'm going to copy this, bring it into the new sheet. And then I have my red paint, I believe. And bring that into my new sheet. And I don't need the units for the purposes of what I'm doing here, which is I'm just importing the components themselves. Perfect. So there's my 3 non-inventory items. I'm going to copy these, bring them into QuickBooks. I'm going to click on Customize Columns so I configure this to also look like item name and cost. So item name and cost. Bring that up and put them next to each other. Hit OK. Then I'm going to copy and paste that in here. There's my item name and cost. Whoops, we had the same issue with the $signs in this case. So I'll just manually delete them if it lets me. Okay, that might be a little bit easier. And I am getting an error on paint red because that's already in there. It's telling you, hey, it's going to be a duplicate. It's fine for now. Then I'm going to bring all my income accounts. Hit copy down. I should also bring my cost account. Let me click on Customize Columns. Bring in my expense account here. Bring it, add, and click OK. And then make all these cost of goods sold by clicking on copy down. And then I'm going to click on save. So that should now add my non-inventory parts. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And using add edit, I imported my components, my inventory parts and my non-inventory parts. Now I have all the components in here. So I'm going to go back into my spreadsheet and complete entering by hand again, just importing it by hand without the import my this one component, RC car, the red RC car. So I'm going to go in here, right click and new, and then I'm going to create an inventory assembly. And then I'm going to type here red RC car. Okay, I could copy and paste line by line from Excel. That's possible too. So I'll copy that and paste that into the description. According to my spreadsheet, my cost is 66.25. So we will put that into user defined cost and put 66.25. And then the components. So the components, I'm just going to click here on full view. So it's a little bit easier to read. And then we're going to do standard chassis, cover car, wheel small, etc. So we'll go here, standard chassis. Then we have wheels, the small wheels. Then we have drivetrain, small. Let's see what else is in there. We have red paint and the RC controller. So we'll do red paint, paint red, and the RC controller. Where are you? Perfect. Our RF controller. And then the quantities for each one. So the quantities is 114151. So I'll put here 114151. I missed something. Let's see. Okay, I missed cover car. So I missed this one called cover car. I don't think I can insert a line, so I'll just add it here at the bottom. And that one was cover car. So let's figure out what cover car is. Cover car is 1, standard chassis is 1, wheels is 4. So we'll do 1, wheels is 4, drivetrain is 1, red paint, that was 5, RF controller 1, cover car 1. Okay. Again, I'm copying all this stuff from our spreadsheet or our source, right? So I went ahead and I showed you how to import the components only. I didn't show you how to import the assemblies, only show you how to import the components and then how to manually create your bill of materials once all the components are imported. So we're going to go ahead and click on OK and click OK. And there you go. My inventory assembly is set up. Let me put income account, sales, and click OK. So there's my inventory assembly. Okay. So if I go back into that assembly item, which is a red RC car. I double click on it. There's my bill of materials. I can click on full view. There it is. So going back to the original question, which is, can I import this from Excel? So we can actually import from Excel the bill of material items, the inventory assembly items, but not the bill of materials. There isn't a quick, easy tool for the bill of materials. So we'll cover the way to do it, which is kind of complex. But let's talk about what is available. So we're going to click on the list menu, click on Add, Edit, Multiple List Entries. And then we're going to select, instead of inventory parts or non-inventory parts, we're going to click Inventory Assemblies. And this does allow me to bring in the overall assembly without the bill of materials. I'm going to go back into my magic spreadsheet. And I'm going to go back and just kind of clear this out because I don't need this anymore. And I'm going to import just this information. Part, description, sales price, and cost. So I'm going to create a new sheet that says assembly part, description, price, and cost. Perfect. Make these columns a little bit bigger. I'll just make these black and white text, make it a little bit easier to read. So I'm going to bring in that data in here. So the way I'm going to do it, because of the way it's organized, I'm going to take this information, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to bring it into this flat format. I'm going to paste it, special, transpose. That allows me to take data that's vertical and then put it into horizontal or vice versa. Now for these costs, it looks like these are formulas. So for these costs, I'm going to copy everything and then paste as values. That way my formulas don't get messed up. Let me try this again. Hit copy, come in here, copy, come in here, paste special, transpose. That should work now. And there it is with my cost. Let's do the same thing with the next item. Copy, right click, paste special, transpose. Perfect. And again, I'm only doing transpose because my original spreadsheet didn't have flat data. You want to have flat data like this to be able to import in QuickBooks in almost every circumstance. Go to paste special, transpose, and then hit OK. So I can, in fact, import my assemblies this way. Let me go back into QuickBooks, and I'm going to close that for a second, go into my item list, and I'm going to delete the one assembly that I already entered by hand, RC car. Delete that. And I'm going to go ahead and go to List and click on Add, Edit, Multiple List Entries. And then I'm going to select Inventory Assemblies. And then I'm going to make this look like my spreadsheet, which is part, description, price, and cost. So I'm going to click on Customize Columns. And I have item name. Then I have sales price as the second one. Then, actually we have description. So where's my description? Sales description. Let me break that. Click on Add. Move that all the way to the top. And put that right under item name. So item name, description, sales price, and their cost. Let's say all the other stuff we don't need. I'm going to get rid of as many things as I can because I don't have any of those pieces of information. Okay, perfect. So I can't get rid of these three. So we're going to leave those there. Hit OK, and perfect. So now I can go back into my Excel, copy this information, and I need to have at least one assembly item put in there so I have a place to paste it. I'm going to replace whatever it's in there, and I'm going to paste that in there. So click on paste. Okay, so that will bring in those assembly items. And just remember that you have to enter a income account or a cost of goods sold account and an asset account for it to come in. So I went ahead and put it on any generic income cost of goods sold account. And I cannot import my bill of materials from here, just the assembly names per se. Then we're going to click on Save Changes, click OK. Then I'm going to go back into my item list. And you will notice that there's my three inventory assemblies Here's green RC truck, double click on it. There's my cost, my sales price, no bill of materials. There is my red RC car, cost, sales price, no bill of materials. And that's how you import it doing at edit. So now the big question is, hey, I want to import the actual bill of materials. All this stuff is fine. I want to import the bill of materials. That's the most amount of work. Now, in QuickBooks, this is a very difficult, complicated task. So you're going to have to follow very specific instructions to be able to achieve this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to take any of the inventory assemblies that you have and create at least one as an example by hand. So then you can follow through and do a template to import it. So you have to create at least one. So when you export it, you have a template to work from. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that one again. So we'll do this really quick. Put them next to each other. So we'll do one. Red car. That's the standard chassis. The next one is cover car. The next one is wheels small. The next one is drivetrain small. The next one is paint red. And the next one is RF controller. Okay, so I got all the one in there. And I'm going to put the quantities. So that was 1, 1, 4, 1, 5, and 1. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to click OK. And OK. So once I have already one set up, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the File menu and click on Utilities, Export, List to IIF. And you're going to export your item list. And then click on OK. Let's call this item list. Save it into your desktop or anywhere that you can find it easily. I'm going to minimize my QuickBooks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that file I just exported and I'm going to click and drag it into any open Excel file that I have. So it opens up a new file. This is an IIF file, the export item list. Go ahead and close that. I don't need this anymore. The one I was working on already. Don't save. Okay. And we're going to come down here and look at one of them as an example. So here's my example right here. Item red green truck, item red car. This is exactly the one that I want. So we're going to come in and look at this example from the first line that says exclamation mark IMV item all the way down to the one that says end assembly. This is the information that we want. So anything under that, we're going to delete completely. Okay, under that example, and everything above this line item here that says exclamation mark IMV item right on top of RC car, everything on top of that, we are going to delete completely. And click on delete. So now we're down to a file that only contains the red RC car and all of the components. So then what I need to do is take this file exactly as it is, delete all the reference numbers and all the timestamps. Okay, you have to do that. And then we're going to come in here and copy this entire piece, but not the first two lines, which is the header, just right where it says red RC car, the first item, and through end assembly. And we're going to copy and paste these, let's say 3 times. Perfect. So now I have my 3 templates set up. Then I'm going to open up the other spreadsheet that I have. Okay, that has all the components. And then what I need to do is I need to now, on my next one, which is not the red RC car, but the green truck, I'm going to replace that with the new item. Okay, which is that red RC truck. Then I'm going to take the description, copy that, and replace the description with the new description. So the 4x4 monster truck. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and include this template on a link so you can download this template as it is if you want to mess with it. And I'm also going to talk about a special macro that I have that really simplifies this process, which we'll cover shortly. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and enter the sales price. So where's my sales price, which is this one. Remove that $sign. Okay, that's going to cause confusion. And then my cost. Put that in here. And notice I'm not messing with any of the other components here, just the stuff that I recognize. My sales price, my cost, my descriptions. Okay, then we're going to have our components. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these components here and I'm going to paste them in here, but I want to make sure that if I have any additional ones, I add some slack to it. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a couple of extra columns right between IMV item and end assembly, just in case. Take my new components, copy them, and then we're going to put them into this list of components. Okay, that's it. That was good enough. I can delete my extra spaces now. Okay, this one needs to be repeated. Bring this down. And also, really important, you are going to tell it what type of a part it is, if it's an inventory or part or whatever. So these two paints are actually parts. So we're going to make these two parts. And then this last one is inventory. Perfect. This stuff here that you see here, just copy this down. We'll just copy this, make it the same for all of them. Okay. Now we're going to look for the quantities. Okay, here they are. Let me clear them out. And I'm going to take these quantities here, copy, and paste them in here. Okay. Also going to duplicate any of the other fields so they all look the same. All right, perfect. So we did green truck already. Now let's do the yellow convertible. Okay. Again, we're going to insert a couple lines here just in case. We're going to take the components, copy them, paste them in here. Okay, same exact number of components, easy. So that means I don't have to change the part. I can put here no to make all these the same. And then the quantities, we're going to copy the quantities and paste the quantities in here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I have all the quantities and the items. Notice that I'm not bringing in the costs because the costs were imported previously when we did the copy and paste from the add edit. And we're going to delete these empty lines. Okay, I also need to bring in the item name. This one's called yellow convertible, and the description. Bring the descriptions, and then we have the sales price, which is 110 and 69.25. So 110 and 69.25. Okay. Let me go ahead and close my original PowerPoint. And now that my template is exactly as I want it, I'm going to make sure that there's no empty lines here. Delete that and delete that. And then click on save. Again, this exact template that you see here, I'm going to put it so you can download it, so you can work from it. But as I recommended earlier, you need to export one from your file so it contains all the little things related to your file. Now, this file now can officially import. So I'm going to go ahead and save it and then close it. And this is this one called item list. I'm going to call it assembly with BOM template, just changing the name. Going back into QuickBooks, I'm going to go into list, item list. And then notice I have my 3 components here. I'm going to delete them. So we're not going to have any inventory assemblies at all. Delete, delete, and delete. Okay, and now we're going to use that import file to bring them in. So we're going to go to File, Utilities, Import, IIF File. Click on Import File. Select the IIF file that I just saved over when I modified it in Excel. Click on Open. Okay, success. Click on Done. Now we're going to go into the List menu, Item List, and we're going to open each of these. Double click. There's all my components. See that? Go to the next one, red RC car with all the components. And the next one, yellow convertible with all the components. The only big limitation that this has is that the unit of measure doesn't import. There's no way to import unit of measure with this mechanism. So if you have multiple units of measure, you're going to have to import them and then go into each one and modify the unit of measure if it happens to use multiple units of measure. So that's going to be something that you have to do manually through this process. Now, that was a little bit crazy, right? So I developed an Excel template with a macro. I'm going to open it up and show you. This took many, many days and really years to think about. And basically with my Excel macro, all you have to do is bring in the component information and the inventory item information, and this will actually create the IIF file for you. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to clear out the sample file that's there now. Just click on Clear Contents, okay? And I'm going to take my original spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this stuff into this specific format. It needs to have this format for it to work. So let me go ahead and bring in the assembly name. Bring that over. Then for the component name, I'm going to bring in just the components and put them here under component. Under quantity, bring in the quantities. Bring that in. Income account, asset account, and cost to goods sold account. You need to use an account that you have in QuickBooks. So I think I have an account. Let me go into the chart of accounts. I think these are just called sales, cost to goods sold, and inventory asset. So you got to make sure that those match. So I'm going to put here sales, cost of goods sold, and inventory asset. So these are the required fields that we have here. Okay. So let's bring in the other ones. My other spreadsheet. Make it a little bit easier to read. So again, I don't have to mess with a weird IIF file. I just work with this template. Then I'm going to bring in item name. Bring the item name in there. Then bring all the bill of materials. Copy them. Paste them in here. Then bring all my quantities. Copy them. Paste them in here. Then the next one. Yellow convertible. Paste it in here. Bring all the bill of materials and paste them in here. I know there's a lot of copy and pasting, but you should have had your spreadsheet already look like something that's importable. And then bring all my quantities. Notice again, I'm not bringing the costs because the costs were already imported when we imported the components. This will not import components. All these components are assumed to already be in QuickBooks. And you don't have to remember which is an inventory part and not. You actually don't have to mess with that. All you need to know is the component name, and that component name needs to be in QuickBooks. Then I'm going to click and drag all these sales, COGS accounts, and inventory asset accounts, make it all the same. And then I'm going to click and drag the name down so it just fills in all the blanks. And fill in all these blanks. Perfect. Now, if I need to add more fields, there's a little button here that says show and 5 additional columns. Open that up. And we have additional columns we can work with. So for example, I want to bring in the sales price. So it was 100 for this one. Just to kind of simplify here, I'm going to highlight this one in yellow and this one in yellow, so I know where those are. So the next one's going to be 125, and the next one's here, 110. Bring that in. Then bring my cost. That was 66.25. That goes in here. My next cost. And my next cost. Okay, and let's go my descriptions. So I got sales description on this one and purchase description as well. Then we got description for the green truck that goes here, here, and then description for the yellow convertible, paste and paste. And now I just fill in my blanks. Okay, filling in the blanks with dollar amounts is tricky because if you were to do with a dollar amount, sometimes the number will go in sequence. So just make sure that once you fill them out, it's not changing the price in sequence. So all I'm doing is repeating the numbers as I go down in here. Perfect. So that's it. So I have this information in a flat format. It's in my spreadsheet, in my macro. And then from here, I'm going to click on Process IIF File. And this is going to ask me, are you sure? Hit yes. And this will ask me, where would you like to save this IIF file? Let's call it Assembly Import. Click on Save. Okay, and that's done. That will create the file for me. Let me go ahead and close my Magic Macro and show you the file that I just exported. I'm going to click and drag it into Excel just so you can see it. There it is. Okay, all that information was brought in here. Okay, there's some dollar signs here. Not sure if that's going to work or not. Maybe I should have removed that before, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into QuickBooks, go back into my item list, and delete the assemblies that are there now. So delete, delete, and delete. And now we're going to go ahead and import them. I'm going to go into File, Utilities, Import, IIF, yes. Import IIF. Select my assembly import, the one I just exported from my template. Click on Open. Okay, so I got some errors. I'm going to click on Review now just to check what the error is. It's probably related to the dollar sign. Okay, yes, it's related to the dollar sign. So let me go ahead and fix that. Okay, so I should have fixed it in my in the actual template before creating the export. But since it's only $3 signs, let me just click and drag this into Excel, and I will remove the dollar signs from here by switching this to number and then clicking on Save. So it does get tricky with QuickBooks doesn't like dollar signs on the imports. Okay, so just remember not to have dollar signs in there. Utilities, Import IIF, Import IIF, Assembly Import, Open. Okay, it should go through without errors. Let's cross our fingers. Perfect, it's a success. Click on Done, List, Item List, and then there they are. Okay, so they're back in there with all the assemblies. So again, there's no built-in tools for you to import the bill of materials for each of the items. You're going to have to do that IIF file with all those weird techniques that I showed you, or download my macro, which will simplify your process. I save hours and hours of work when I do import jobs for assembly items using this one macro. This macro sells for $50, and I'll put a link in the description if you're interested on purchasing the macro in itself, And I'll also put a link to simply just that IIF file that we did at the beginning by hand. If you want to finagle with this file by itself using all the techniques that I showed you, you're welcome to do this. It won't cost you anything except for time and frustration. I think that if you are going to import 20 or more assembly items, just buy the bullet, pay the $50, buy my template, because it will save you tons of time. And of course, you have to follow the instructions that I showed here to the teeth. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was advanced. And if you got to this point, congratulations. That means that you love QuickBooks as much as I do, and you're a big QuickBooks nerd. So I'm really hoping that the solution works for you, whatever problem you're trying to solve. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.